Hello and good evening from Germany. This is Jonathan Quell-Higgins, and we are live here with Elite Horology. Welcome everybody who found the time and is in the mood to talk some watches. I know that we have a rebel streaming here, but I enjoy if you chose this snooze feast, just like it has been called recently. Thank God I'm not alone. A very good friend of mine decided or was kind enough to join me. So hello and good evening, my friend Thomas Burnett.
How doing, Jonathan? Good to see you all in chat.
Yeah, thank you very much again for joining me. Did you have your dinner already, or?
No, I had a late lunch, so I'm going to be having a late dinner tonight. So
Oh, okay, very late
that's
then.
fine. Yeah.
I'm just trying to tune up your microphone a little bit.
Oh, sorry. Am I not
Okay.
very loud?
Okay, I think now we can understand you better. Yeah,
Okay.
so Tanzil has been now promoted officially admin of the Elite Horology, but of course tonight and today he's out, so he's not gonna join me. So I'm doing this all by myself, and yeah, not by myself because I have you as my panel guest, but I'm meaning the administration and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So we welcome here Dodger from Poland, who is watching.
Good
Dodger,
old
you have the link
Dogmeister.
if you want to join us. Please come on. Patel Philip, before the show even started, the insults are flying. So Thomas Burnett, we know that guy. Here, where's the video of the snowball watch fight with Avec Swiss? He's referring to the trailer for the Swiss and John
The
show.
intro, yeah.
And OC offered to replace Swiss's face with his face, but I need someone to do that. And then also
Designer Talia, yeah, he did the first one, didn't he? But he's probably too busy doing things himself to do
yeah, I
another
haven't
one.
reached out to him. I wanted to start with 2 shows. I think that the trailer is not the most important thing of a YouTube show, but I'll certainly reach out to him, and probably he can squeak it a little bit.
We have the YouTube countdown numbers, so that was a good start. So
Yeah. Well, that is everything that I can do. You know my limited abilities when it comes to pull up things. So Patel Philippe is confirming snooze feast. It's correct, snooze feast or snooze fest? No, it's feast.
Snooze Fest, I think festival.
Snooze fest. Okay. Snooze. Okay, my mistake. Great to see Tom on the show. Mrs. H is here, and Patel Philippe says hello to Mrs. H. Okay, so we have some follow up from the yeah.
Can we just start with your new avatar? It's something for a place from your World Timer watch, isn't it?
No, actually not. That is a new project that I'm working on. I wanted to show that last week, but I had OC in the background, and the OC asked me, "What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?" And I said, "I'm gonna talk about a new project that I have, a cloisonné dial with a Bora Bora motif." And he said, "You know, the main criticism towards you, you know what that is?" And I said, "Yeah, I know what that is. I'm always talking about myself." And OC said, "Right, that's exactly it. People are complaining that I'm always talking about myself, so I should not feature my own projects here." And so I kept my mouth shut for 1 week, but I can't resist talking about myself. So tonight I'm going to do that, if that's okay. But I will catch up with the last show because I have some updates on things, and then I promise we will go on to the Bora Bora dial. Is that okay for you?
Sure.
We have Junior Johnson here, who left a very kind comment last week after the last show. So hello, Junior. Good to see you.
Junior.
So yeah, last show we had some discussions about Shapiro, and probably I insulted some of our American friends because I called the Shapiro watch a mess. And I'm not backing down. Actually, I was hoping to have the rancher's opinion about that, but he will join us a little bit later. But I'm trying to show you what I mean. So we have here the Shapiro watch, and OC called the dial rightly so, in my opinion. He called it a deep dish, didn't he? Yeah, I think so.
Deep dish pizza, yeah.
Yeah, deep dish pizza. And I said, this is a mess of all kind of decorations who are very complicated to make. There is no discussion or dispute about it. But to me, it's just too much. It's too much on the case flanks with the guillochage. I know that he has a machine that does the guilloche, so I'm not sure how much is really hand done, how much is really machine done. And when I let the last week's show pass, I think I had a very good comparison or a good analogy what I see in this kind of watch. And when we're going to the car world, this actually is what I associate with this particular watch. Now let me try to pull.
Here's with it, Jonathan.
Say it again.
Here's with it.
Here it is. So this has been an American car, an American car company called Zimmer. And I think the founders of Zimmer had a similar idea, just like Shapiro. Make something that looks classy, that looks a little bit vintage, that looks expensive. And there are certainly some very nice details. The spoked wheels I like. The lights I like, the horns, the exposed I like, those, how do you call those stepping things here?
Not the sort of guards on the
those yes, those guards. So there are nice elements taken for themselves, but then they are all thrown together, and as a result, you just have a mess. And that is a little bit how I see the Shapiro watch. And
yeah,
I have to.
It's a bit like a sort of saloon car with a sort of square hatchback, isn't it? With a looks like a square hatchback.
It's certainly an acquired taste.
Is it a takedown roof at the back?
I think it was a hardtop actually.
Hardtop, right? Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. So it wasn't.
It's got like a Spirit of Ecstasy on the top of the.
Yeah.
Is it made by Rolls? Is it a Rolls Royce engine then?
No. I think it is. No. It was an American engine.
Okay.
There inside. I think Pontiac or something like that. It was really? The platform was a common car. So yeah. So there you go. Oh, now people are going after me. Rancher, are you ready?
Yeah, I just said I was going to be there for. Yeah, I was going to be there for 5 minutes before you started, not after you started.
Okay.
Before,
I apologize. I apologize. Patel Philippe put you back. So hello and good evening to you.
Hello. So Dodgers in Poland.
Yeah.
So you're prepositioning people. Good idea.
I have him already in the target.
Mein Fister.
Rancher, do you know the Zimmer car company?
No, I do not. But what the hell is that thing?
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. And that is basically what I thought when I saw that J.N. Shapiro watch. 1 second, I'm going to pull it up for you.
It's like the Homer.
Well, that Zimmer car, in my opinion, is just a design mess. Just like the J.N. Shapiro, they tried to make something expensive looking. They certainly had good ideas. They took a lot of inspiration from the past, but the result is just revolting.
Do you think they spent as much on the Zimmer car as they did on this Shapiro watch, though? I think it.
Just as any 9-year-old sitting outside the principal's office can tell you, just because you can do something doesn't mean necessarily you should.
You should.
I think Rancher is spot on. That is why we need you, Rancher. Thank you very much. That sums it up. So I'm gonna check the comments a little bit. You're swearing here at me. I said I'm ready. No, damn it. Okay, I'm sorry. I got carried away. And we have OC here. Greetings, everyone. Sorry I can't be with you today. Meeting up with the community in Manhattan for a big dinner. Cheers to all. Have a great show. Thank you very much. You have a great meeting,
Have a
OC,
nice dinner.
and I hope that you don't inhale too many balloons. If you know what I mean.
If we're lucky, I think Bill Sanders might be joining us here in about 15 minutes.
That would be fantastic, actually.
You're welcome.
So G. Gadwa says Gonzo hit OC. That would be fantastic, but OC is having an NDA, so the privacy of the people whom he's meeting will be kept. G. Gadwa is not happy with it. Patel Philip says hello, good morning from Germany, and that would be awesome if Bill joined, and I echo that. So the second thing that I wanted to mention, we were talking about the IWC engineer, and breaking news. I think it came from you. No, I sent it to you, Thomas. I think it came from Muhammad Ali. There are two British retailers who already offer the IWC engineer, and those are ADs. Those are not boutiques. And I'm just trying to find the link.
Watches of Switzerland, was it? Yeah, Goldsmiths or something, maybe?
Yeah, Watches of Switzerland, and there was some other Barry's jeweler.
Barry's, yeah, Barry's.
Yeah,
that's it, Barry's.
1 second, I will try.
Barry's jewelers.
And I will prove it live on air. So 1 second. Patel, where the heck are you? So 1 second. Guys, try to do.
Yeah, Barry's are good jewelers. They stock a lot of different stuff, from Patek to Breguet to Vacheron. They do the full range.
Yeah, totally. So Barry's has the full range. You and I, we've been talking about it because on the UK IWC webpage, this engineer is 10,500, the steel one. And Barry's for some reason offers it 8,750. So guys, if you're really into this watch, order it quick. I think it's a pricing error. I think it should be 10,500. So you can order it online. So if you're out for an engineer here, you can get it with 20% discount. Yeah, so be quick, because 1 second, let me try to find Goldsmith UK.
I like the green dial the most out of those, I think.
Yeah, that is unusual. But you're a young cricket, so Watches UK. Oh, here we are. I hope that.
What about you, Rancher? Are you a fan of the engineer?
Rancher? He's joining.
Oh, sorry, I forgot. I muted myself. I was talking. I looked down, like, oh, right, sorry. Yeah, I am. But there's also another watch channel called This Watch, That Watch. He does a good job of explaining why the current inventory at that price is overpriced for what you're getting.
Yeah, it is.
And how so?
Sorry?
How so? How is it overpriced? Is he referring?
Simply because other Genta mainstays like the Royal Oak and the Nautilus, they have a long history, and they may have been iteration after iteration, but they mostly did well. Engineer, on the other hand, did everything wrong with the Engineer brand. Almost killed it. And then all of a sudden they're going back to their roots and doing something right. But considering what you're getting, considering there's not really the history and the heritage with that model as there are with the other Genta models, he doesn't feel that they've really earned a right to sit at the same table. Instead of 12,000 or 13 or more, it should be more like under 10.
Yeah, it should be. It should be like the price that like Jonathan showed at Berries. It should be 8,500. It shouldn't be 12.
Yeah, just have a look here. Goldsmith is selling it for 10,500, and Berries is selling it for 8,750. So that is what I was talking about. I agree with you that the engineer is overpriced. I will defend the engineer a little bit because the engineer was always an expensive watch. It was always more expensive than a Rolex Submariner. In the old Genta days, and even the re-editions have always been very expensive. And my defense for the IWC engineer for the new one is the bracelet, the case, the finishing, the feel is really outstanding. I dare to say it feels better than an AP Royal Oak, particularly when you touch the bracelet, when you touch the
wow,
the case.
Okay. Yeah, I had the offshore on the metal bracelet, and I loved that bracelet.
Mm-hmm. The offshore is one of the most comfortable bracelets I've tried. Yeah.
Yeah, but isn't it a little bit thin?
No, I didn't think so at all.
I thought it was a bit thin at the joins of the links, but
yep.
I don't know.
So that is my criticism with the normal Royal Oak bracelet, that it feels just a little thin. It is super comfortable, I give you that, Rancher, but I think it's a little bit thin. And here, this feels like a very expensive piece of fabric, a heavy one, and not sure. Did you ever try on the new engineer?
No,
Rancher?
I'm in the flyover states. You think no? It hasn't. Probably hasn't made its way over here. It's probably never even heard of the flyover states.
Yeah. So yeah, probably you're right. So my advice is
the only reason why tornadoes come here is that they have no choice.
Okay. And nobody told them to go and to otherwise. So, but my recommendation is if you can get your hand on an engineer, it's very worth it, and I really like the watch. Now we have a third or a last thing to catch up before we are going to Bora Bora, and I promised Thomas that, and that is we had a discussion about what Rolex will show at Watches and Wonder this year, and I said that last year they tried to present a platinum Submariner. And nobody believes me, of course, because I'm a total liar. And I'm trying to prove my point with Rolex's own teaser that they made. That is a 20-second teaser from 2023, and I'm going to stop it, and I'm going to show you a picture of what happens. So watch out what really happens. Okay. Before we go further, what do you see here, Thomas?
I see the inside of a bezel, which
the engraved Rehot.
Rehot, sorry, yeah.
So it's either stainless steel, platinum, or white gold, correct?
Yeah. But it does look quite titanium-ish. You're right.
But look at the color of the dial.
Exactly.
Dial
platinum. That color light blue is platinum.
Yeah,
exactly.
They always use that color with platinum.
The ice blue dial.
Thank you very much. That is exactly how I see it. Now watch what happens. It is very quick, so I'm trying to hover a little bit back.
Okay, I can see the indice over it.
So you can see two indices flying by, and it's better if you let it run. So what you have a look at the indices that run by. I will start it again.
Okay.
It's very quick. And the second index is what what drew my attention, because it looks like a triangle. Here, that looks like that looks like a triangle from the side.
Right. It doesn't look rounded.
So you can see it better when it flies by. So I will start it again.
Can you make it whole screen? Can you make it whole screen?
Oh, yeah.
Turn my top a little bit. Do it.
Okay.
Okay.
I can't do more.
All right.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So that is a triangle. That is not a bateau. That is not a boat, just like with a Daytona. That is a triangle. And the one that flies by before it is a round index.
Oh, yeah.
So it's certainly a triangle. If you see it flying by, you can see it's a triangle. So there are only two options that could be. That would be a Platinum Submariner or a Platinum GMT Master with the ice blue dial. That is my conclusion.
I'm going to text someone real quick. I'm going to mute myself.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I always thought that when they introduced the Submariner 2.0, which was the Yachtmaster, the titanium, I always thought that they eventually release more titanium watches. It was a testing ground for a titanium watch, and the Submariner's the natural progression, really, isn't it, for a titanium watch?
Well, it's a little bit just like the Porsche 911 that they tried to replace, and then they had two very different models for a very long time in their product range, and that is what happened with the Submariner and the Yachtmaster. Okay, Thomas. So we're going back to Bora Bora now.
Yeah,
if that's okay for you. So
because you had that icon up. You said hello from Germany. It's like, that doesn't look like Germany.
No.
Okay.
So people may remember our good friend Benjamin Chi, and Ben knows my love for Bora Bora. And Ben one day contacted me and showed me that. And asked me, what do you think of that?
Is that Bora Bora?
Well,
that is Bora Bora. No doubt.
Right.
That mountain in the middle is Bora Bora, and that is a Patek Philippe with a Bora Bora cloisonné dial.
Oh, wow. Blimey.
Never seen that before. So, and he asked me, should we do something like that for the Celadon, Century? 1 second. No, it's not the Celadon High Horology. 1 second.
So this is his sub-brand, isn't it, Celadon?
That is his sub-brand. Yes, with the Chinese cloisonné.
Made on Celadon.
Yeah. So 1 second. Okay, I'm trying to.
I'm just reading Patel's comments on the side, but no, this.
Oops, that is not what I wanted. Okay, that is Celadon here, and you will see his peacock and the Starry Night in a second. Here,
the peacock's right, but the peacock is also the pressed Guilloche one, isn't it?
Yeah. And here you can see this the peacock. Totally amazing. Okay. So the story is Benjamin Chi is in touch with a master enamelist. His father used to work for the Chinese emperor, and he's a super specialist, and he does those styles for Ben. I have this watch on order with a Starry Night dial, and I told him I can't have both. So when we do a Bora Bora dial, it must be one watch. So I'm giving up the Starry Night. That is the Starry Night, by the way. And let's do a Bora Bora dial. Ben said, okay, let's do it. Can you can you give me your favorite motive of Bora Bora? Give me some motives that you like about the island. And I've sent him 3 pictures. 1 second.
So one is the one in your avatar, I take it.
When is that taken, you mean?
One is the one in your avatar, I take it.
Exactly, yes. It's now I have a problem because I don't have the original pics. I just have the edited picture already, but that is no problem. Let me show you. Okay. That is, so my good friend Russ, I sent him a picture and he has a computer program that makes then a kind of drawing out of a photographic picture.
Okay, right.
And that was the first step. I sent him a photo. I don't have the photo handy right now, which annoys me. But I sent him this picture, and that is one of my favorites when it comes to Bora Bora pictures. I have a second one that is already edited by Russ, and that is that one. Present.
So it's like some sort of processing software.
And that is that. So here you can see the iconic mountain of Bora Bora pretty well. A little island in the front with a hammock and some water bungalows. I like that one also, but to me it's not blue enough. Then I have another picture.
I think you noticed the one with the palm tree much more in the one that's in your icon. The palm tree in the foreground and the mountain in the background. Because those little cabins on the beach in a row, you wouldn't stand out enough on the dial, I don't think.
So I have another one, which has been taken by me when we were on Bora Bora. That is really close to my heart. But we all agreed that a dial out of that would not be good. So I have this picture hanging in my bathroom. That is the original picture that I took, I think, in 2016. And that gives me Bora Bora vibes with the different colors of the lagoon and everything. The problem is, if you convert that to a dial, it will look like this. And then it's going to be boring. So not every image that you can take makes a good dial.
No.
So that would be a little bit boring. That is just a sketch. Of course, we can do the palm tree a little bit better. But we quickly decided that my favorite image of Bora Bora won't make it. So we then converted the 2 images that stayed into dials. So we're making a circle out of that. And that is the first one.
Nice, yeah.
That is the one that you see in my avatar.
Yeah, that'll be a lovely dial.
And we have the second one. That is that one.
Yeah, nice. But I prefer the first one.
Me too.
Of course, we can also appreciate not just you, but your entire family's fascination with Bora Bora when your grandfather was there trying to establish a weather station.
At Bora Bora, I wasn't aware of that. We just have a famous folk singer who took a traditional folk song and made his own version out of it. But I will research that a little bit with the weather station, if that's okay for you.
That's nice, yeah.
So we are back to.
So the nearest I get to Bora Bora, just for a second, is the
wheat dial.
the palm motif.
One second. Full screen.
I've been hearing some scuttlebutt that they're going to discontinue the textured Datejust dials this year.
Yeah, I was told that by my ID just after I bought it. It's discontinued along with the Yachtmaster 2. And but yeah, that's the nearest I get to a Bora Bora dial. But on that note, I'll just buy my tickets for Watches and Wonders, Jonathan.
Oh, very good.
So I'm going to see what they will deliver.
Very good. Rolex always shows everything in the window, which is really fantastic.
It's just like a shopping. It's like a shopping mall. It's
let me
just like you don't actually
let me welcome. Let me welcome one of the people that I really admire. We have here Bill Sanders. Hello, good evening.
Bill,
how you doing, man?
Great to see you.
We're doing good. How are you?
Yeah, you guys are talking about. Hang on, boy. Let me see. Get my. See if I can get my sound working okay on this. Hang on one second.
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
Also, he's looking for his tropical beret.
I think Bill can't hear us.
Oh boy!
Right.
One second.
I can see you okay, and I probably can hear you, but I don't have my. Here we go. Let me see now.
Hold on.
Can you hear us now?
Yeah, got it.
Very good.
Hear you great.
Good. I can hear you. I had. It's really funny if I have these on when I have my own session. There's no sound for anybody, so I have them off for the most part. Hey, what did you guys? Rancher says you're talking about independence.
Yes, that is my big hobby or my main interest. You may not be aware of my little channel. I was in the comments of your show a couple of days ago. I was slightly trolling you. But it was nothing insulting, and I totally forgot what I was asking. I think I was asking also a serious question, So this show actually started as the Swiss and John show. Swiss and I, we are big fans of independent watchmaking, and we try to avoid Rolex talk and. So I think you and us, we have the same spirit. Rancher, of course, can't stop talking about Rolex, so that's going to be a little bit of toughie.
Yeah. Excuse me. On independence, I happen to have two of them here. I've decided to go for 2 watches a day rather than one. Because I like my watches.
1 second. I make you full screen. 1 second.
Now let's see Thomas drinking from the cup instead. I want to.
Yeah, this is my Lang & Hein Frederick II.
Oh, okay.
I love.
You're showing us the wrong side of the watch. You should show us.
Yes, you're right. There's the right side. The back of it. But I'm wearing I have too many favorite watches. This is my Larique Etude #1, and this, I suppose, myself and the other guys who got one, we really learned about independent watchmaking because of Agenor and the way they did things, and then dealing with all of these other companies that you have to deal with to create the kind of watches that you get in an independent watch company. Hey, Junior, how you doing, man? Anyway, so yeah,
you made a kind of price dumping with your Larique because nobody really could match that price for an independent watch of that scale. I'll give you that. The problem is just Rancher couldn't stop talking about it for 2 years, I think. But we're looking forward to the next version of this watch, which should be very soon.
Yeah, like next week.
Next week? Oh my
Yeah.
God!
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I understand why the
Wow.
rancher agreed to join me on the channel, because certainly he was trying to spook that.
There are a lot of things that there are all kinds of things that happen that you can't do anything about. I mean, it's sort of like right now we've had this rain and rain and rain. You can talk about it, but there's not a whole lot you can do about the weather. And the same thing is in watchmaking. Things happen. And so you've got to have an incredible amount of patience. And you don't have like I guess the companies that they'll have a certain brand, or they'll have all of the parts and everything, and then they just sort of run them out. A few years ago, I was looking at a thing that Tag Heuer had, and they were very happy that they had this, I think, a robot that made all of their watches for them. And we got a new robot, a new computer thing with them. And they make good watches. They can make really great watches that way. But I don't know, the independents are, they're like anyone else, but there are a number of things, a number of real challenges that they have. And so I've got nothing but respect for them. I think one of the big problems they have, and I just mean one of the big problems, because there are several big problems, is the economy of scale. And when you're dealing with, I was just looking at a Gerbel Forsey today that I can't afford, that is called a handmade, and their plan was making 3 a year.
Yeah.
And man, what a watch. But like I said,
they're putting 6,000 watchmaker hours in one of those watches.
Yeah.
Now multiply that with 200 and you get the price.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So it can be very difficult. And things, I tell you, so much stuff was going on that we learn about. That's one thing I think for any collector. And by the way, too, my view is that any collector can get a bunch of guys together and work with one of the independents to have watches made. And I think there's some other groups that do that beside Larique. And believe me, to me, it's well worth it because you can create some really incredible watches in something that borders on affordable.
So I have two questions. Did you handle the handmade one from Gröbel Forsey, or did you just see pictures of it?
How did we get started with Agenor, you mean?
No. You were talking about the Gröbel Forsey, the handmade one, that super expensive watch. Did you hold it in the hand, or did you just come across with it with your research?
The hands?
Did you have the handmade one, that expensive watch? Did you have it in hands or not?
Yeah, it's handmade. Is that the question?
No, the Gröbel Forsey handmade one. Have you touched it? Have you handled it?
I'm sorry, Thomas, what was that now?
The Gröbel Forsey, Robert Gröbel, Stephen Forsey.
Oh yeah, no, I would just
Have you touched the watch?
I was looking at it. I was looking at it today.
Just online.
Online or in real life?
Online.
Okay.
A couple of years ago, three of us were at the Watch Time show in New York, and the Stephen Forsey came over and sat with us, and we started talking about different things. And one of the things I asked him about is about a remontoir égalité. I thought, this was, and he was telling us about how they did it. And the it was really fascinating. And so we asked him, we said, well, how come more companies don't do it? I mean, like Groenfeld and FP Jorn and a couple more companies have remontoires. And he said, because it's really hard. So I guess, somebody bouncing out of watchmaking school, it's beyond them. And a lot of other ones don't want to invest the time and money into making it. And I don't know. I get, I don't know. What are your views on that?
Bill,
I spoke with Andreas Strayer in Waterford in Ireland at the Festival of Time there, and he was saying that he's totally committed to remontoires, and he finds that the impulse before the escapement is much more accurate in building constant force, in producing constant force than a Fusane chain. It's much better than a Fusane chain. He prefers it, but he said it's all it's a bit like philosophy. It's what you prefer, It's basically, yeah. But Andres Strayer has worked for Gronfeld and numerous companies and done the remontoires for lots of companies.
I think Bill touched a very, very interesting point. He said collectors can go shopping and collect all kind of parts together and then create their own watch. The problem is that at the moment there is a supply problem with many of the independent watchmakers and with their suppliers. So now it became a pricing game. So they're only supplying you if you throw a lot of cash to them, unless you're some famous person, just like Bill Sanders. And I think that is your main advantage, because if I would approach those watch companies exactly with the same idea, with the same design, they will charge me probably 3 times or 4 times of what you get.
See, I don't know. Let me interject here. I think Bill had his advantage with this channel because he was already talking to a lot of these watchmakers beforehand. He was interviewing, getting to know them. So that is one heck of an advantage to have. Also, Bill, I kind of have a question for you. It's kind of a thought experiment. Let's just say that you were going next month with Thomas to Watches and Wonders. Which booths would you see the first day and why?
No, if I were going to where,
Watches and Wonders next month with Thomas. Thomas is going.
Watches and Wonders. Watches and Wonders.
I'm missing something, guys. I'm sorry.
If you were to go to Watches and Wonders with me in 3 weeks, which brands would you visit? There aren't that many independents there. They are mainly at the AHCI show on the Friday, but there's people like Grunfeld, Ressens, Ferdinand Batu, Chapek,
Chaikin.
No, they're not Watches and Wonders. They'd be in the AHCI show.
Yeah. I was talking about the AHCI.
Yeah.
Probably H. Moser.
Yeah,
they had something that they did with some group at some time. Basically, what this other group did, and I'm not sure the name of them. I think they were called the Collective or something like that.
The Collective, yes.
Yeah, and what they did was that they made a deal with H. Moser, and they got one of the watches pretty much that was off the shelf, and they put a rotating bezel on it, and then a group of them bought that, which I think is a great idea. What Clyde was talking about, and I think some years ago I bought a Harry Winston by retrograde, and I I was trying to find out about, who did the movement, and I got a guy who worked for who was it? Oh, anyway, I forgot the name of it right now, but they work for the company that made the base movement, and somehow somebody mentioned something about Agonor, and so I contacted Agonor, just I think through their, I said, did you guys have anything to do with this? And I got that was how I came to know Nicholas Viderek, who is one of the two sons of Jean-Marc Viderek. So yeah, and I don't know why, we had corresponded, and what happened was, Clyde, I don't know if you remember this, but remember before we actually started, we had a year that we tried to start, but it was right in the middle of the pandemic, or the second part of the pandemic, and we thought, well, we better wait a year. And then coming back after the pandemic, and I think this was where a lot of the little parts makers they were gone.
Yep.
And so it was, but the thing of it is that those, I think there are other opportunities. What I would like to do is work with some of these young watchmakers who are independents, and say, hey guys, this is something that we'd like to do. Would you be interested? And we can, you don't have to worry about marketing or sales, because this is all taken care of, and we'll, let's build a watch together. And so they don't have to deal with all of that, the whole thing about distributors and so on and so forth. And just, and I think that's one of the advantages that you can do. The problem is it's a lot of work. It's an incredible amount of work. So,
not only work, I think there is a lot of money involved when independents are really good, because collectors are willing to pay really ridiculous prices when somebody is really putting out an extraordinary watch. And I wanted to shift a little bit to one of the independents who really caught my heart, and he presented a fantastic watch just at the beginning of the week. I must say this week was an outstanding week for all people who really enjoy independent watchmaking. I think I have 3 or 4 absolutely mind-blowing watches here prepared, and I wanted to discuss the beautiful regulator watch from Raoul. I think he's pronounced Pagesh. I think that is his proper pronunciation. He's a Spanish watchmaker working in Switzerland, and he just introduced his new variant of his regulator with a detent escapement, and that is basically the trick. He managed to put a detent escapement into a wristwatch that doesn't lock up and that doesn't slip through. Now, Raoul Pagesh, or Pagesh, he was not well known until a year ago, when he was nominated for the Louis Vuitton Young Watchmakers competition, and he won it, and now everybody knows him. But Swiss and I, we've been discussing Raoul Pagesh for over a year, and we discussed the detent escapement a little bit. Rancher, can you tell us how a detent escapement works?
Oh,
yes.
No.
I can confidently answer that question. No, I cannot.
Okay. I tell you, a guy who did it was Derek Pratt. He was building one for Urban Jurgensen, and in fact they did, and it was the watch that Clyde almost had. We both got one, and they came out with a P4 and a P8, and the P8 is the detent,
Right.
And but I'm trying to think, weren't they made primarily for pocket watches?
Yes. Well, it started as it is in a chronometry escapement. So they started in marine chronometers, as far as I know.
Yeah, I can picture it and I think they have some of the advantages that Daniel's coaxial has, is that instead of they're not there it is. By the way, too, I did a video on Raul Pagues, and that was his Deton escapement looks a little different than some of the other ones, but it's just fantastic.
So I'm trying to explain it a little bit what a detent escapement is. So a detent escapement consists of that long lever that is spring-loaded, and the charm of a marine chronometer escapement is that you don't have an anchor. It is a direct impulse escapement, and the very important part is here the escapement wheel, which is directly connected to the drivetrain and the mainspring. And the mission of an escapement is to break that down, to give it only drop by drop or tooth by tooth, so that the second hand can move, and that regulates then the flow of time. And contrary to the Swiss lever escapement, which has a lever, the detent escapement is a direct impulse escapement, because you can see that little ruby here that goes directly on the escapement wheel. There is no anchor that is being transported or now I'm missing the word. Accelerated. That is the right word. If you have to accelerate a lever, that always uses a lot of energy, and then you have a lot of friction, and you have a lot of vibrations. And the charm of this detent escapement is that it only touches once per second on the escapement wheel, while, for example, a Swiss lever escapement has like 10 impulses per second, and every impulse means friction. It means acceleration of parts, breaking down parts, vibrations, and everything. So the old chronometer builders, they were using detent escapement, direct impulse escapements, because they were basically more precise. And the Swiss anchor escapement is a commercial thing which does the job, but it doesn't really have a lot to do with high precision. Sorry for the long tangent.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So what you see here is the detent escapement. Here on that little little hole, you will see the balance wheel then, and that balance wheel just knocks that little hammer, which is directly then connected to that ruby. And yeah, so in one direction there is no function, in the other direction it just gives one tooth free. Now here we have the problems with the detent escapement. The main problem is you have to control that only one tooth is being released and not 2 or 3. And if you bang that watch, the balance wheel may open this for too long, and then this escapement wheel slips through 2 or 3 teeth, which then results in inferior precision.
Yeah, no, bad accuracy.
Yeah, bad accuracy. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I think that's also one of the things that Bill was telling me, that we heard that Urban Jurgensen, that sorry.
Is Mark calling?
No, actually, we actually heard that they're having a harder time keeping the P8s in working order and repaired than the P4. So we may have actually, unbeknownst to us, had made the right choice, or had it made for the right choice made for us.
Right. Okay.
It's one of those things I'd still like to have. There are a lot of sort of funky little things that happen with these different kinds of constant force attempts, and even though if they're not perfect, I think they're part of the, I don't know what. I guess there's a certain mystique to the whole thing that is working off of nothing more than the energy from the unwinding mainspring. That to me is the fascination of mechanical watches.
Yeah, I totally agree. And what makes my heart beating is when they're really putting technology from old marine chronometers, which were really there to save lives,
Yes.
with precision, when they convert those kind of technologies then into wristwatches. And
yeah, I tell you who did one. It was sort of a funny story. When I went to visit Rolf Lang in Dresden a couple years ago, he had made, his big hero was Harrison, of all people, and
John
he
Harrison,
had made a Maritime chronometer, and he had it. It looked like it was in sort of a flower pod. And it was just amazing. In fact, I think it's still on his website. I don't know if Rolf is doing anything anymore with watches, but at the time he built one, and I never knew what happened to it after that. I visited his place in it's really outside of Dresden, near the Czech border, and his place is just almost magical with stuff. He has, I think, he was one of these guys who came up in watchmaking he was born in 1948, and so by the time he got into watchmaking, they had this well, actually, when he from very young man, he was not allowed to be a watchmaker, even though he came from a family of watchmakers. This is the old Soviet sort of restriction. You didn't want to give anybody an unfair advantage by letting them, continue with the family business. And so he ended up in the museum in Dresden. That was, everything had to be put back together after the war. And that was how he did it. And then once they had the I keep saying reconstruction, the reunification. After the reunification, he started doing things with all these companies. He's one of these guys, I think, who's done a lot of things that he wasn't a very good businessman. I think most of the best ones aren't, so but they're really good watchmakers.
You told a nice story about a German, and I was watching an interview with another German who is working in Switzerland, and I wanted to cover him as well. This is Bernhard Lederer. He's a German watchmaker who constructed a crazy watch. But Bernhard Lederer told about his fascination of Abraham Louis Breguet. So he grew up in a town called Wuppertal, which is right in the middle of Germany. And he was young. He didn't have a lot of money. Most of his money, when he was an apprentice, went to his flat and probably to some beer that he had after work. And he one day he heard that there is a book out there about Breguet, which was called the Bible of Breguet. Which the famous book by George Daniels, The Art of Breguet. I'm pretty sure you know that, Bill. Pretty sure he has it.
This one?
Yes.
You know, most of this book, though, is all of the different ones that he made. And it's sort of like an encyclopedia of it, but then like it goes through for collectors that you can check to make sure you're getting one, but there are also parts of it that show exactly
Very
how
technical.
to do it.
Yeah.
And
so Lederer said that he heard that this is the Bible, so he tried to get this particular book in Germany, and it must have been like 40 years ago. And he said that he was walking through town. He was visiting other towns, and he consulted virtually every bookstore that he could find to get this book ordered from him, and everybody said no. So then he called his brother, who was living in Stuttgart, and he asked his brother to look around in Stuttgart, and the brother said, no, I can't get it. So the two brothers then met together and were trying to hitchhike to London to get this particular book. There's no joke. And he was talking about him and his brother standing for 7 hours in the rain until the first car picked them up into the direction of London. And they went to London that way by hitchhike. And then finally he got the book, and he showed the book in that interview with markers, and he apologized that it's very dirty and everything. But he said, that is my Bible, and that is where I learned everything about Breguet and about fine watchmaking and precision of time. Very touching story. And just the length that some people go for their love for watches.
I think that book was also the one that F.P. Journes was his main book for that too.
Yeah. So probably this inspired a lot of watchmakers.
Yeah, I met Bernard Lederer last year, and he showed me his dual escapement watch with the 1 second ticks and another second ticks. And it's a fascinating watch. Yeah, really.
We have Muhammad Ali here from Chicago. He just flew to Chicago, and hello, good to see you. Muhammad promised to Gonzo stream next week from Chicago, so I'm looking forward to that. So we got a little bit carried away because I wanted to come back to Raoul Pagesh for a minute because we all know his regulator with a detent escapement is well known. What I like is that he put extra effort into the lugs, so those lugs are really with the little screws fixed to the case. What I don't like are those 4 extra screws on the dial. I know that with that ring you can cover a lot, so I think it should be possible to attach this particular dial on this fantastic watch without those 4 visible screws. And to be honest, I was hoping to have OC here today on the panel because he nitpicks on those little things, and he bites in them, and he can't let them go away. So
now that you've brought them up, they do look a bit out of place. They do, but and especially on that photograph. But I wouldn't have noticed them otherwise on the other photograph.
Yeah, a collected man made a really good photograph story out of the watch. Now, what Raoul Pagesh did some time ago, he teamed together with the most famous enamelist alive today, and that is Anita Porcher. I think her atelier is in Lausanne. And Anita Porcher and Raoul Pagesh, they teamed together, and they chose a new kind of color signature for his watch. Only 3 watches are made in this color combination. It's inspired by Le Corbusier, the famous architect. Yes, those are complementing colors. Anita Porcher was talking a little bit about the difficulties to get those colors right. And when I visited my enamelist, the problem is that enamel powder has a very nice color, but after you you burn it in the first furnace, after you heat it up, it changes color significantly. So to get the end result in color, you have to do a lot of experiments to get it right then as a final result. And Anita Porcher was talking about it a little bit. I don't know if she makes those dials in person or if it's done in her workshop. Doesn't matter, because Raoul Pagesh is doing only 3 of them. Monochrome put the pricing into not relevant, and I heard just Archie Luxury discussing that last night on his show, and they were mocking on price not relevant, and they said, yeah, they want people to call them. Quite the contrary is the fact, because you can imagine such a watch with such an exclusive story about the colors. They're sold out immediately. Nobody really gets them. So you shouldn't even bother to call them because you won't get one anyhow. And if you have to ask about the price, you're not the right person. The normal detent regulator Raoul Pagesh is 85,000 Swiss francs plus tax. I guess this will be roughly double, I would guess. But just like I said, only 3 being made, and don't waste your time to try to get that one.
No, not with 3 being made. It's just.
But I think the pictures are quite striking, and I like that blue color with the yellow. What do you think, Bill?
You know, we found a similar thing when we were making our second watch. The colors, we wanted a burgundy color, but what we found, there's a very limited palette that Comblemine, at least this may just be Comblemine, I don't know, on their Guilloche, the number of things you could choose from for colors were very, very limited. And we had to do a lot of experiment. We started with a rose color, and we wanted it darkened to a certain point, and it didn't work out. And so then we had to go and work on it because exactly the same reason we wanted to get the right color, because the color we saw initially, we said, oh yeah, that's great. But then when they put it on top of the Guilloche, it was way too light. We had to go to some other ones with it. But I love color. I just, it's hard to deal with though. And I tell you, I know that they're talking about doing an enamel on one of our upcoming watches. Anita Porcher, is she the one who does the enameling?
Yes, she's the most famous enamelist who is still active, and she signs AP on some of the Patek dials, and also she made Grand Sonneries for AP, and she's quite a legend in the enamel field. So if you have an enamel dial with an AP on, that is something really special. And it's not Audemars Piguet, it's Anita Porcher then. That is her.
Ah.
Raoul Pagesh on his workbench. And that is the result. One thing that I found interesting when I was discussing that with my friend Russ, he pointed out the little holes in the surface of the dial. Not sure if you guys can see that. I'm trying to zoom in a little. Oh, no, it doesn't work. I can't zoom in more. So there are little holes in the surface of the dial. And I can see those little holes in my enamel dial as well. And I was a little bit annoyed by that because when I saw Jamie Opulence's Patek Philippe World Time, he didn't have any imperfections in the surface. So I reached out then to Anders in Genève and asked about that, and he was saying that if you want a perfect surface on an enamel dial, you're doing a kind of lacquer covering on top. which then results in a more bright color. So sometimes you want this opaque appearance on enamel dials. So then you don't surface treat them. You just leave them just like they are. And if you cover it then with a lacquer, the appearance of the color is very much different.
Well, sometimes it's just not good to get lacquered up.
Well, sometimes it's just the enamel is shit. That is what you're saying?
Scheisen?
Again, yeah.
Actually, you know what? I'm starting to quite like these screws next to each dial. I think it gives it a bit of symmetry.
Yeah.
I was reading the Dufour, Philippe Dufour, when he did his Simplicity 37, he used lacquer from Metalem. And he had a discussion about why he used lacquer instead of enamel, and it had to do with the difficulty of working with enameling and getting what you wanted, and so he went with lacquer, and that was why on our first watch on the E2 #1, that's exactly what we did. We went to the same dial maker and asked for the same lacquer, even the same color, and we got it, and it turned out wonderfully well. Guy Lochet, I tell you, it's going to be a while before I ever want to do Guy Lochet again.
Yes, it's very difficult.
It can be very difficult.
Just talking about Guy Lochet, our friend Russ has that fantastic Patek Philippe minute repeater, and his AD gave him the privilege to have his watch photographed by a professional photographer, and he sent me the pictures of this watch, and they are just mind-blowing in my opinion. Talking about guilloché and then enamel, which is then called flanqué. That is a super nice style, I think.
Yeah, we had our guilloché done by the same company that Kari-Voutilainen used. Yeah, I'm sorry about my pronunciation. As you may have noticed, my hearing isn't very good, and so my pronunciation of a lot of things isn't either. So I apologize for that, because I think it's important to try to pronounce things correctly, and what I hear and what other people hear are a little different. But
no reason to apologize.
It just, some people act like I think it's important to try to get it right. So anyhow, but go ahead.
I think those watchmakers are aware of the problem of American or English-speaking people with pronouncing their names, and I'm pretty sure they hear a lot during those exhibitions and watch fairs.
Well, I really do try, but I have a hearing loss, and so I don't. That's the problem. But some people, actually, some Americans speak French and German and everything else. But I do have German relatives. That doesn't help a bit. Anyway,
you have no idea how many hours I tried to teach Tim Wright the proper pronunciation of Glashütte, and that was really a challenge.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But anyway, I was the.
Are you saying that was a challenge, or he was challenged?
Yeah.
Probably both.
Text here. Look, guys, I have to run. My wife gave me a half an hour from 4 to 4:30, and then I was Clyde told me I could come here, but
Bill,
so
just quick,
I'm gonna have to run.
You had advised what not to do when you're trying to get a high in demand watch. Can you just give us the bullet points without further explanation?
What to do with when you're getting a high demand watch?
Yeah,
like
when buying a watch. That was the topic of your show that you just did, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, basically, what I'm going to do on Sunday, I have a video I'm working on for Sunday, is you go to the top watchmakers, like all of the ones you just talked about, and you find out what they're doing, and then you go and you try to find that in lesser known watchmakers who working with at lesser prices. You take a double barrel in parallel, they're very hard to find, but Schwartz Etende, and I'm probably ETN, Schwartz ETN, yeah,
Schwarz Etienne, yes.
Yeah, they have that, and so they're more affordable, and so it's basically starting with the very best, and then seeing if you can find it somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And usually you can't, but you know, every now and then you run into something you can. You know, I tell you, a guy who I would like to see do more of that is Richard Harbring, because he's got the talent and he does some things, but I think he's probably a fairly decent, as far as independence goes, fairly decent businessman. But I think he's a much better watchmaker. But his business sense tell him, well, if you do that, it's going to take a lot of time, and then you won't be able to sell enough to make it, think like that. I'm not sure. Another guy I would really, really like to see Marco Lang do some more things. The thing,
yes.
this beautiful watch he has, but I go way back with Marco Lang. When he first came to the New York Watch Time show, I had a real good talk with him, and he is a guy that I mean, he's got like this new company, but he only has one watch, and he can't keep up with the demands on that are so much that that's the only watch he's making.
Yeah, you were talking about scaling up the production, and that is certainly a problem. And I just pulled it up. I think this watchmaker actually did a very good job in planning. However, that makes his watch, in my opinion, a little bit less interesting. Did you hear about? So Bill, if you have to go, just go, or you can say goodbye. I don't want to hold you up any longer.
Thank you. Thank you.
I will just continue with the next super crazy independent watch that was introduced this week, and that is Renault Tichier. I think that is the right pronunciation of the company. And behind Renault Tichier, there are two people, and one guy is Mr. Renault from Renault et Papi. That is Dominique Renault here on the left, and Julien Tichier is the watchmaker who created this watch. And those two guys are teaming together. Dominique Renault is a kind of advisor and also a kind of marketer, and I think they really complement them together pretty well. And the result that they just presented, I find it very remarkable that Monochrome chose the right perspective of the watch to as their header for the story, because let's be frank, the watch from the dial side is really blunt and very simple and probably a little bit boring. And maybe you remember last week I said there's always there's often a problem when a watchmaker designs a watch, and I think it shows here that probably Mr. Tichier created the watch itself or tried to make it low key, and it's a little bit boring. What do you think, Thomas?
Yeah, look, it's interesting. I mean, I really like the fact the backside is the reverse. Sorry, I'll put it is much nicer. Backsides are nice, but the reverse is much nicer. But yeah, I mean, I was reading a bit about it just before the show, and he's designed a new form of micro rotor escapement, hasn't he?
Yes, that is the technical innovation that he found out. And I try to explain that in my own word with my crappy German accent. So like you said, he created a micro rotor movement, but the micro rotor usually has a problem because
it's called a dancing movement, isn't it? Dancing micro.
Yeah, with a dancer, yes. So a micro rotor movement very often has the problem that it's not really efficient versus a normal central rotor.
Because it's not heavy enough. It's not heavy enough to.
Yeah, and also the diameter is very small. So to overcome to make a full rotation is very difficult for a micro rotor. Why to make a full rotation with the central rotor, you need less energy. And one of the main problems of a micro rotor is that it always wiggles left and right, but doesn't do full turns. So what Mr. Tichier invented is then a piece in the middle of that micro rotor, which is activated by the motion of the micro rotor, and then it starts spinning. So it gets a kind of kick. That dancer in the middle gets a kick, and then it's spinning around and winding the rotor up. So his system is more efficient and is taking the dead energy from the micro rotor, just wiggling around, basically doing nothing, and converts that little motion into energy that can be stored then in a mainspring. So that is
the push. Yeah, right.
Yeah, that is the trick with the TCA micro rotor. And additionally, what I really like, and you can see that here with the balance cock. Usually, a balance cock is a pretty blunt thing. What he did, and that is the Max Büsser school, is he makes a kind of bridge. So you have those side things that are just like pillars that go up, and then you have a bridge that goes over those pillars, which in my opinion is visually more attractive than just putting a cock on it. And and you can see it here that he continued this technology or this way of watchmaking, and it makes it visually much more interesting, at least for my point of view. Rancher, was my explanation with the micro rotor understandable? Rancher left the building?
No, sorry, I was just doing something in the background. I'm going to have to leave, unfortunately, but all right. Yeah, I actually was listening to that, and your explanation of the micro rotor versus the rotor does make sense, and it explains why everyone doesn't use it, because otherwise there would be no reason to have a full rotor.
Well, a full rotor is cheaper. Micro rotor makes the movement usually a little bit flatter, but then you have to move the other parts around that micro rotor, which makes it very difficult and very expensive.
Gotcha. All right. Well, anyway, thanks for having me on. Anyway, I guess I was able to bring Bill on, so it wasn't a total failure. So, guys, be well.
Great to have you, Rancher, and thanks for bringing
your kudos for tonight's show is that the show was not totally useless because you brought Bill Sanders, and I thank you for that, and I appreciate that.
Yes, I was thinking about I was the prophet in charge of. Never mind. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye, Rancher. So yes, so that was another fancy, crazy independent that was introduced today. What I found interesting is that in that article they are talking about that they have been hiring already 9 watchmakers. So they have 9 watchmakers working on this watch, and I think they are planning to do 60 of them per year. And
wow, that's a lot, isn't it?
That is a lot. And I'm not sure how much I like that because it says Tichier on the dial, but then you probably have a watch that has never been touched by the master, just by employed watchmakers, and it's a super exclusive watch, also 80,000 Swiss francs. But that's exactly what Bill said. Marco Lang is working on his only watch model and can't move on or elevate or reach another level, because he's so flooded with orders. And Mr. Tichier is, in my opinion, doing the right thing. He lets now he has done the groundwork, and now his watchmakers are producing the watch, and he's moving on to the next project.
Yeah, I suppose that's what independent watchmakers do. They reach a certain level, and where they're in demand, and they have to offload the work to their watchmakers, and so that they can progress with their new designs and their new models. But you're right, it does for 85,000. It does seem a bit of a cop out for the person buying the watch. That it hasn't been actually made by the master himself. It feels a little bit sort of. If they really think that deep into it, and they're not just buying it for the movement and for the beauty of it, and they really love that dial and design of the watch, and they're besotted by it. Then if they look that deep into what we're talking about, it does seem a little bit of a disappointment.
Yeah, I see that disappointment as well. However, we had that discussion on various shows now, when people are asking, okay, what happens with servicing in 20 years? What happens if Mr. Tichier finds a beautiful island to retire and says, I'm not going to make those watches anymore? Probably it's a good thing that he has 9 watchmakers who know how to make those watches, and who are able to repair them. So just like most of the time in life, it's not only black and white. There are pros and cons. And a little bit of a disappointment or a reality check for me was when I was visiting Recep Recepi's workshop. And I had to learn that he's also having like 5, 6, 7 watchmakers who are producing those watches on a daily basis. And he's also moving on to prototyping. He's not working on a daily basis on his watches anymore. And it's the same thing. But I think if you want to be successfully financially, economically, or probably creatively, you have to choose that path. And that is what I found so interesting about Bill, what he said about Marco Lang, who is in a kind of prison and can't get out of it because he has too many orders from his clients for his only watch model.
Yeah, you're right.
So, should we move to the next one that I have prepared, or should we close this down because we're now 1.5 hours? How exhausted are you?
No, I'm fine. I'm fine. Yeah.
So I'm moving to the third one that is spectacular. Then I'm going to show a Patek and give some thoughts, and then we are coming back to Bora Bora because I have a breaking news story about Bora Bora because we have another drawing. So
right.
So this week, no, what doesn't it? 1 second. Share screen. So this week was another independent. I already touched him, Bernhard Lederer.
I love his watches. I mean, as I say, I met him at the AHCI show last year when I went to Watches and Wonders, and I went there with Swiss, and yeah, it was amazing, that show. And I met Bernhard Lederer there, and he showed me his, I think it was dual escapement or not just dual barrel, but dual
impulse escapement, and also direct impulse. So it has 2. I try to explain what's happening under the hood. Just a couple of words. You've been there with Swiss at Bernhard Lederer's booth, and after I was talking to Swiss, and Swiss said Bernhard Lederer and his wife were such nice and humble hosts.
They were,
and
yeah.
You can confirm that, correct?
Yeah, they're so nice, and they let you try the watch on, let you look at it, and had several examples in his cabinet, and talked with great enthusiasm about the watch and just about watches in general, about horology, and was willing to educate you about it, and they explained about the two second hands, one in the top and one at the bottom that tipped one than the other, and yeah, it's just brilliant.
Yeah, I think so. Just for context, the watch is 140,000 Swiss francs. So we are talking really about an expensive watch, and some people approach me and call me arrogant, and my nose up in the air, and I'm detached because I really love this kind of horology, and I can understand where the people are coming from. I remember I was a normal Rolex guy, and I was saving for my AP. I loved Lange, but nothing fancy. And then now I lost. Yeah. I was regularly reading on Hodinkee, and then a writer at Hodinkee started, whom I hated. His name was Jack Foster, and he was talking about those crazy independents, and every watch was 100,000 and more dollars. And I wrote him something in the sense that he should. I appreciate his enthusiasm, but I asked him if he's able to write about a fascinating watch that is below 100,000, because it's getting ridiculous mentioning all those expensive watches. Now here I am, a couple of years later, doing exactly the same thing, and I certainly understand where Jack Foster was coming from 5-6 years ago when I was at that level. And guys like Bernhard Lederer, I think, are prime examples of people who make crazy expensive watches, but you can see the passion and the humble character in those people. Their character has not been tarnished by those crazy prices that they're asking for their watches.
No, not at all. No, not at all. No, it's perfectly happy for you to look at it, and he wasn't expecting you to buy. It was like a sort of take it and leave it basis, you know. This is what I like. This is what I make because I love making it, and if you like it, you can buy it, you know. And I love Pascal Philippe's comment. Timely behavior is becoming a watchmaker for.
Yeah, that is why.
Yeah.
So here he's asking about the Lederer Lachs. Here, Higgy baby. Well, keep in mind, Bernhard Lederer is German, so he doesn't do anything fancy. So those are basic Lachs. Now, what catches me more with Lederer watches, and I will try to get in the technology in a second. What I really love about Lederer is not only the crazy technology in his movements. I love that he does a total different case back, just like everybody else. A normal, even high-end watch has a flat case back with a flat piece of crystal. And he has that crazy glass box that exposes the movement from all kinds of angles. There is a lot of light coming in, and it's just a spectacular view.
They really are like watches you've never seen before. The movements. You look at them and you think, you know, where's the single barrel and the hairspring and the you know, Skaman wheel, and what are all these different components that are coming out? And
so half of the movement is fully exposed under that crystal.
Yeah, fascinating.
And that is something that I appreciate even more than the fact that this is a total crazy construction of a movement. And I try to explain what Bernhard Lederer is doing. So Bernhard Lederer is doing something else, just like Raoul Pagesh. Raoul Pagesh is having a detent escapement that has one impulse. The problem with Raoul Pagesh is that his detent is only working 50% of the time, because when the balance wheel is swinging back, it runs free. Only when it runs in one direction, then there is the impulse on the balance wheel that gives it then free. So there is a lot of energy waste. And what Lederer did was taking the detent onto a total different level, because he said, I'm not wasting the energy of only one swing or of one half swing. I'm also taking the energy of the swing back. And to use the energy of the back swinging balance wheel as well, he basically made two movements into one case. So here you can see two mainspring barrels that are wound together, but they are working differently. So that is one drivetrain here on the top, and on the button there is a second drivetrain. Now, so those are virtually independent watch movements. The only common thing that they have is the balance wheel that is then centralizing everything. That balance wheel is then moving onto two escapement wheels, because two movements, it has two escapement wheels, and those two escapement wheels, that is the dual impulse that Bernhard Lederer is talking. So the impulse of the balance wheel of the escapement wheel. So okay, we have the balance wheel that is a swinging thing, and this works on two escapement wheels, not balance wheels, escapement wheels. So the escapement wheel is part of a drivetrain, and he has two, and that is the dual impulse that is being done here. Not only that, to make it more precise, he has two remontoirs d'égalité. So here you can see a remontoire, which is another kind of spring that is wound every 10 seconds. And that leads to greater precision. We have been talking about that with my fusée and chain. The problem is the mainspring, when it's fully wound, has a higher torque than when it's almost ran down. And
whereas remontoirs will keep it constant all the time.
Exactly, yes. So you can solve that problem by fusée and chain or by a remontoire. You're charging with the mainspring virtually another spring that is wound up and down every 10 seconds. And at the end of the day, then on the escapement wheel, you have more or less a constant force, because that doesn't have a variation if the mainspring is fully wound or not. That 10-second spring is always wound with a constant force.
I mean, the different remontoires. I mean, the Grunfeld ones are every 8 seconds. Andreas
8 seconds, yeah.
telling me, and I think Andreas was saying his is every second.
Yes, the Seiko, the Grand Seiko is every second, for example. Yeah, and Lederer is doing every 10 seconds, and then because he has two of them, you can see the click every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So those remontoires are charged then every 10 seconds, and you can see that step every 5 seconds. Now, because you have two movements, you have two second hands. One is running anti-clockwise, and you can see that on the top, because it has 40 and 20 on the wrong side of the dial. So this hand is running anti-clockwise, while that hand is running clockwise.
Yeah, fascinating to see when you've got it in hand. It's just
So people who have been following the Swiss and John show, of course, are now asking, what is the big deal? Well, the big deal is his first central impulse chronometer that has been introduced a couple of years ago. that was 44 millimeters, and the new one is 39 or 40. I have to check, but it's significant.
Okay.
It's significantly smaller. One second,
Right.
let me just check. And that is the big innovation. So he took this movement and made it significantly smaller and better wearable. So I got 2 versions of this. Where is it? I have so many tabs open.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I got it. Okay, let's see. I think it's 39. Yeah, 39 millimeters.
Wow.
Price is the same, or almost the same, 136,800. So the price hasn't changed, but he made the movement more compact compared to the dual impulse, which has the same technology that he presented some time ago. While researching that dual impulse or direct impulse chronometer, I came across with an amazing watch that he did. Have you been aware of the invert that he did?
No, I'm not aware of that one.
He made a watch where the movement was upside down, so you see everything from the dial perspective that you usually see on the case back. I think that is super spectacular, and I hope that he's going to make that in 39 millimeters as well, because that is also the big size.
So if you're a fan of skeletonized watches, that's the one for you.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that is spectacular, isn't it?
I'm not a fan of skeletonized watches myself, but that, it really does expose something wild in that watch, doesn't it? It's just, wow. Blimey.
You don't see that on a different watchmaker, but he's also using the same technique with those bridges or cogs. So he has that central bridge part like a pillar, and then he has the flat bridge, and that makes the movement so much more three-dimensional.
Yeah. So when you get those motorways that go.
Yep.
You know, lots of high motorways with bridges past it.
Yep.
Roads above roads above roads above roads. It's intertwining, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
So yeah, here, Zenith Open Heart, please. So yes, those were the 3 independents that I wanted to show. 140. Yeah, I'm just touching remotely that beautiful Patek Philippe that just showed up there. Have you seen about that Emilia Earnhardt Patek Philippe that was presented on Hodinkee?
I haven't, no.
So Monaco, what is the name? Monaco Legend Group. They will have an auction of a super interesting Patek Philippe single pusher flyback chronograph that used to be owned by Mr. Selfridges.
Oh, really?
And he donated it to a race driver named Henry Seagrave. And that race driver then gave it to Emilia Earhart, the famous flyer who went missing.
Wow.
And this is a super rare.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was just going to go to Patek Philippe were commenting earlier on. Do you think that all cloisonné enamel dials are one-offs? That's an interesting question.
Well, they are because those cloisons, those little borders, are bent by hand, and none of them are really the same. And just remember what I said about the color. that the color changes when it's fired up. So they are virtually painting by hand, and even the color distribution is not constant. So you could say
you could say that they are Patek Philippe one-offs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here we have that cushion cased chronograph that has been purchased by Mr. Selfridge. An interesting story that I heard is Mr. Selfridge, in his department store in London, he had a glass window, and when celebrities came into his store, they were putting their signature on that glass window with a diamond pen. And Amelia Earhart was one of them. Now, the story, just quickly, this is a super rare watch, because back then, I think that is we are talking 1920s, split-second chronographs were super rare. Patek Philippe didn't make their own movements back then. For those chronographs, I think the name of the movement maker is Victorin Piguet. That is exactly the name of the ébauche or of the movement. And I think they made 11 flyback with a single pusher, because flyback usually has an additional pusher, and a normal chronograph very often has a third pusher. So with a single pusher, that is a very rare thing. Now, even more rare is most of them were round, and that cushion case, I think, is only 3 of them. The provenance is something important. Now, what I like about that watch is the engraving, but I hate it at the same time. Why do you think I would hate such an engraving, Thomas?
Die Hand ist engraved.
That is the name of the race driver, and HGS is Mr. Selfridge's.
HGS 1928. Why do you have that? Is there a spelling mistake?
No, there is no spelling mistake. I hate the fact that this case back has been polished a lot, so that engraving is getting unsharp, and you can see you can even see those grooves around from the polishing process. And in my opinion, it's a shame that such a beautiful engraving has been polished over and over and over. The last restoration has been done by Patek Philippe. In my opinion, it's a crime. It is really a crime to handle a watch like that. And that is just an example. That is just an example why I tell everybody, don't polish your watches. Don't do that. You're losing shape. You're not losing only...
You got a very good point there, Jonathan. I mean, with such an antique piece, well, I presume it hasn't been polished when it was an antique, as polished over the years. But yeah, when you've got an engraving, you're going to lose it if you over polish it, aren't you? If it gets over polished. But yeah, you've got a good, very valid point there.
Yeah, but if that happens to an engraving, that also happens with sharp edges or lines of the case, because you're just losing substance and you're ruining watches. So please, people, don't polish your watches. I mean, some scratches are okay. That by the way is the watch on the wrist of her. That is one of those single push button chronographs. Oh, in round shape or
monopusher.
Yeah, monopusher in round shape. Where is that? Here, that has been sold for 3 million.
Wow!
And the claim is that this cushion case is much rarer, and the story of the watch with the owners justifies a probably even higher price. The watch has been restored by Patek Philippe in 2015. They confirm that it's the only one with this kind of tachometer going around. But I have a couple of questions. So I see those loom plots, and they appear to me to be out of place. So because of the watch has been restored by Patek Philippe, and they mentioned that they were working on the dial, my guess is that Patek Philippe did that.
Restored the dial and reloomed it, maybe.
Yeah. Yep. So probably this watch came with a loom, but here comes my question. Now you have loom on the dial. Where's the loom on the hands?
Yeah.
Because a loomed dial doesn't help you if you don't have loomed hands.
No.
So either those loom dots on the dial are wrong, or the hands are wrong, I would say.
The loom dots are. I don't know. Maybe it did come like that, but
they look dodgy, don't they?
Yeah, it looks a little bit out of place. I suppose it goes all harks back to what the original watch dial looked like when it was sold back in the 20s.
Yeah.
And I suppose they've faithfully restored it back to its original. The plans, the schematics that they've got.
Yeah. One would guess that, but why then not having loomed hands?
I don't know. Maybe they wanted to keep the original hands. I don't know. Do you think? Or
but I have doubts.
Do the hands look fresh? Do you think?
I don't know, but to me it doesn't make sense. So either the watch had loom on the dial, just like we see it today, and they restored the dial, but then consequently the hands should have loom as well. Doesn't really make sense to me.
Maybe loom wasn't a thing in the 20s.
Yeah, but then leave it away.
Yeah. maybe they did. Yeah, maybe they didn't have loom on hands, but they had loom on the dial. I don't know. It's I'm not a historian, but it's an interesting thing, though.
Yeah. So here you can see a couple of
really
those.
Nice. That one.
That's
really nice. That's a lovely one. That black dial Breguet numeraled one that you pulled up just then. The round one.
Yeah, here's a different cushion case, but not with a tachometer.
That one is gorgeous. Breguet lugs.
Breguet lugs and Breguet numerals.
Breguet lugs, Breguet numerals, Breguet, not quite Breguet hands, but that one's really special. That's gorgeous.
So we will not solve that problem, but I have many questions about this watch. However, I think it's spectacular, and I'm pretty sure the price will be spectacular when this comes to auction. Now, I'm trying to close the show with an update on the Bora Bora, because Ben then consulted Benjamin Chi. He consulted his dial maker and asked for a drawing. And this is the drawing that the dial maker came up with. And I'm trying to show you the initial drawing. Do you like that?
Take the beach hut out. Take the beach hut out.
The what?
The beach hut.
Yeah, that is one thing that I'm gonna do. There is another thing that